I still remember the way her heels clicked against the tile floor as she walked away. Sharp, quick, like gunshots echoing through the Italian restaurant. Everyone heard it. Everyone turned to look. And when she reached the door, she laughed. Not a polite chuckle or an embarrassed giggle. A full, cruel laugh that seemed to hang in the air even after she was gone. I sat there alone at the table, surrounded by the flickering candlelight I'd requested, staring at the second menu that would never be opened. The waiter approached cautiously, the way you might approach a wounded animal. I told him I'd just take the check for the water. He nodded, his eyes full of pity I didn't want. My phone buzzed. A text from my daughter. "Did she like you, Dad?" I locked the screen without responding. This wasn't my idea. I want that understood from the start. I hadn't been on a date in 4 years, not since Rebecca died. I wasn't looking for one now. But my sister Claire had worn me down over months of pestering, insisting that I needed to live again, that Rebecca would have wanted me to be happy, that the kids needed to see me as more than just their grief-stricken father. So I'd agreed. One blind date. Claire's friend from her book club, a woman named Vanessa who worked in marketing and apparently loved hiking and Thai food. Claire had shown me a photo. Vanessa was attractive, polished, with the kind of confident smile that suggested she knew exactly what she wanted from life. I should have known I wasn't it. The moment she'd walked in and seen me, I'd watched her face do this thing. This microscopic shift that most people probably wouldn't notice. But I'd become an expert in reading disappointment. Her eyes had scanned me, head to toe, taking in my off-the-rack suit that was probably 2 years out of style, the watch Rebecca had given me for our 5th anniversary that had a scratch across the face, the way I'd stood up too eagerly, too desperately. She'd sat down anyway. Ordered wine. Made small talk about the weather, about the restaurant, about anything except why we were actually there. And then, after exactly 14 minutes, she'd excused herself to the restroom. She never came back to the table. Just grabbed her coat from the hostess stand and left, that laugh trailing behind her like perfume. I drove home in silence, the radio off, just the sound of tires on asphalt and my own breathing. The house was dark except for the porch light I always left on. Mrs. Chen from next door was inside with the kids. She met me at the door with that same pitying look the waiter had given me. "How was it?" she asked, gathering her purse. "Short," I said. She patted my arm. "The right person will see you for who you are, David." I nodded, paid her, and closed the door behind her. The house smelled like the frozen pizza she'd made for dinner. I could hear the TV upstairs, some cartoon still playing in Emma's room even though it was past her bedtime. I climbed the stairs slowly, each step heavy. Emma's door was cracked open. She was 7, curled up under her purple comforter with her stuffed rabbit tucked under her chin. The TV cast blue light across her face. She stirred when I sat on the edge of her bed. "Dad?" "Hey, sweetheart. You're supposed to be asleep. I was waiting for you." She rubbed her eyes. "Did you have fun?" I smoothed her hair back from her forehead, the same way I'd done every night since she was born. "It was okay." "Do you like her?" "It doesn't matter, Em. Get some sleep." "But you were smiling when you left." "You don't smile a lot anymore." Something cracked inside my chest, but I kept my face neutral. "I smile plenty." "Now close your eyes." She did, but reached out and grabbed my hand. "I don't want you to be lonely, Dad." I sat there until her breathing deepened and her grip loosened. Then I went to check on my son. Marcus was 11, old enough to pretend he didn't care but young enough that it was obvious he did. His room was dark, but I could tell from his breathing that he wasn't asleep. "How'd it go?" he asked quietly. "You're supposed to be sleeping too." "That bad, huh?" I leaned against his doorframe. "It was just dinner, Marcus. Mrs. Chen said you were nervous. She said you changed your shirt 3 times. Mrs. Chen talks too much. He sat up in bed, just a silhouette in the darkness. I remember when Mom was here. You used to laugh at her jokes. Even the bad ones. Yeah, I said, my voice rougher than I intended. Yeah, I did. Do you think you'll ever laugh like that again? I didn't have an answer for him. So I just said goodnight and closed his door, stood in the hallway between my children's rooms, and let myself feel the full weight of how badly I'd failed them tonight. Not because the date had gone wrong. Because I'd let them hope it might go right. The next morning started the way every morning started. Alarm at 6. Coffee. Pack lunches. Make breakfast. Wake the kids. Find Emma's left shoe. Sign Marcus's permission slip. Check backpacks. Brush teeth. Find Emma's left shoe again. Load everyone into the 10-year-old Honda that desperately needed new brake pads. The school drop-off line was its usual chaos. SUVs and minivans piloted by parents who all seemed more put together than me. I pulled up to the curb, and Emma unbuckled but didn't get out right away. Dad, it's picture day. My stomach dropped. Today? I told you last week. And the week before. I looked at her. Mismatched socks. A shirt with a small stain near the collar that I hadn't noticed in the morning rush. Hair pulled back in a ponytail that was more functional than fashionable. You look beautiful, I said. I look like you dressed me. She climbed out, then turned back. It's okay, Dad. I know you're trying. She disappeared into the crowd of children, and I watched her go, feeling like I'd failed her for the 100th time this month. Marcus was still in the passenger seat, staring at his phone. Hey, I said. You okay? There's a thing at school next week. Career day. Okay. They want parents to come talk about their jobs. He finally looked at me. I told them you probably couldn't make it. Why would you tell them that? He shrugged. Because you're always working. Or taking care of us. Or tired. I'll be there. Dad, you don't have to. I'll be there, Marcus. What day? Thursday. But seriously, it's not a big deal. It is to me. He nodded, got out of the car, and I watched him walk toward the middle school entrance, shoulders hunched in that way that kids do when they're trying to make themselves smaller. I made it to work 15 minutes late. The hardware store where I worked as an assistant manager wasn't exactly a career, but it paid the bills. Most of them. My boss, Jerry, was understanding about the flexible schedule I needed for the kids, which meant I couldn't really complain when he asked me to work weekends or cover for call-outs. The day passed in a blur of customer questions and inventory counts. Around lunch, Claire called. So, she said before I could even say hello. How was Vanessa? She left. Silence on the other end. What do you mean she left? I mean she walked out of the restaurant. Literally got up and left while I was sitting there. David, I'm so sorry. That's not like her. She seemed really excited when I told her about you. Did you tell her I was a widower with 2 kids working retail? I told her you were a dedicated father who's incredibly strong and... Claire, it's fine. I'm not mad at you. I'm done. No more blind dates. One bad experience doesn't mean I have to get back to work. I hung up before she could finish. Spent the rest of the day helping customers find the right drill bits and explaining the difference between interior and exterior paint, and when I finally got home that evening, both kids were quiet at dinner. Too quiet. What's wrong? I asked. Emma pushed her peas around her plate. Nothing. Some girls at school said my clothes are weird. I looked at what she was wearing. A perfectly normal t-shirt and jeans. Your clothes are fine. They said they can tell I don't have a mom. The fork in my hand felt suddenly heavy. Who said that? It doesn't matter. Emma. I told them I do have a mom. She's just in heaven. And they laughed. Her eyes were filling with tears. Why did they laugh, Dad? I got up from my chair and knelt beside her, pulled her into a hug while she cried into my shoulder. Marcus sat across the table, staring at his own plate, jaw clenched. People who haven't lost someone don't understand, I said quietly. They don't know how much it hurts. That doesn't make them right. I miss her, Emma whispered. I know, baby. I miss her too. That night, after they were both in bed, I sat in the living room in the dark and pulled out my phone. Scrolled through old photos. Rebecca at the beach with Emma as a toddler. Rebecca and Marcus building a snowman. Rebecca and me on our wedding day, her smile so bright it seemed to light up the whole picture. I hadn't dated when she was alive because I'd never needed to. She was everything. Partner, best friend, the person who made me want to be better. And then one random Tuesday, she'd complained of a headache. By Friday, she was gone. Brain aneurysm. The doctor said it was quick, that she didn't suffer. Like that was supposed to be a comfort. The kids had been 7 and 3. Too young to fully understand death. Old enough to feel the absence of her like a missing limb. I'd become both parents overnight. Learned to braid hair from YouTube videos. Figured out that Marcus needed space when he was upset while Emma needed to talk. Memorized their favorite foods, their teachers' names, their fears and dreams and the specific way they liked to be tucked in at night. But I was still one person doing the job of two, and some days the math just didn't add up. The week crawled forward. Work, school drop-off, homework help, dinner, bedtime, repeat. Thursday came faster than I wanted. Career day. I'd requested the morning off from Jerry, who'd raised an eyebrow but approved it. I put on my best slacks and the button-down shirt I usually reserved for funerals and parent-teacher conferences. Marcus had been quiet at breakfast, barely touching his cereal. You really don't have to come, he said as we pulled into the school parking lot. I want to be here. Dad, the other parents, they're going to be lawyers and doctors and engineers. You're going to talk about selling hammers. I turned off the engine and looked at him. Is that what you think I do? Isn't it? Marcus, I work so you and your sister have a home. So you can play soccer and she can take piano lessons. So there's food on the table and heat in the winter. I work so you two never have to worry about anything except being kids. That's what I do. His throat bobbed as he swallowed. I know, Dad. I don't want people to look down on you. Let them look however they want. I'm not ashamed of my life. We walked into the school together. The career day presentations were being held in the cafeteria, different parents stationed at different tables. I saw a woman in a business suit with a poster about architecture. A man in scrubs explaining something about emergency medicine. A pilot in full uniform demonstrating something with a model airplane. And then there was me, with nothing but a name tag that said David Morrison, hardware store assistant manager. Marcus's teacher, Ms. Patterson, greeted us warmly and directed me to an empty table near the back. I sat down and waited. Kids cycled through in small groups, spending a few minutes at each table before moving on. Most of them barely glanced at me. Why would they? I wasn't wearing a uniform or a suit. I didn't have props or posters. I was just some guy who worked retail. But a few stopped. Asked questions. I told them about helping people find solutions to their problems, about the satisfaction of fixing something broken, about learning new skills every day. They nodded politely and moved on. Marcus came by with his group. He stood at the back while his friends asked the pilot about flying. I caught his eye and smiled. He gave me a small nod, and that was enough. The event was supposed to last 2 hours. I was packing up after 90 minutes when a boy approached my table alone. He was small, skinny, with glasses and a nervous energy. "Are you Marcus's dad?" he asked. "I am. I'm Tyler. Marcus talks about you sometimes. Good things, I hope." Tyler pushed his glasses up his nose. "He said you make really good pancakes. And that you know how to fix anything." "I don't know about anything. My dad doesn't know how to fix stuff. He just calls people." Tyler hesitated. "He also doesn't make breakfast. Our nanny does." I studied this kid, saw something familiar in his eyes. Loneliness, maybe. Or just the weight of having parents too busy to see you. "Your dad's still a good dad?" I asked gently. "I guess. He's just never home." "Then maybe the best thing he fixes is making sure you're taken care of, even when he can't be there. Different dads show love different ways." Tyler considered this. "Marcus is lucky," he said finally. "He has you." Then he walked away, leaving me standing there with an unexpected lump in my throat. I found Marcus after, waiting by the car. "How'd it go?" I asked. "Tyler said you were the coolest parent there." "Tyler's a good kid." "Yeah." Marcus opened the car door, then paused. "Thanks for coming, Dad." "Always." The weekend came and went. Saturday was Emma's piano recital, which I filmed on my phone while mentally calculating whether I could afford to fix the brake pads this month or if they could wait. Sunday was laundry and grocery shopping and trying to fix the leaky faucet in the bathroom before I had to pay a plumber. Monday morning, Claire called again. "Don't hang up," she said immediately. "I'm not going on another date, Claire." "That's not why I'm calling." Vanessa reached out to me. My hand tightened on the phone. "Okay." She wanted to apologize. She said she panicked. That she's been divorced for 2 years and hasn't dated anyone with kids and she just freaked out. Good for her. I hope she finds someone who doesn't scare her. She wants to try again, David. She said she made a terrible first impression and would like a chance to. No. Just hear me out. No, Claire. I don't want to be someone's second-choice guilt project. I don't want someone who has to work up the courage to sit through dinner with me. I'm fine alone. You're not fine. You're lonely. I can hear it in your voice. I have 2 kids who need me. I don't have time to be lonely. They need you to be happy too. I am happy. The lie sat between us for a moment before Claire sighed. Okay, she said quietly. Okay, David. I'll stop pushing. Thank you. But after I hung up, I sat in my car in the hardware store parking lot and wondered if she was right. If the kids could see through me the same way I could see through them when they said they were fine. That afternoon, a woman came into the store looking for supplies to build a raised garden bed. She was probably in her late 30s, wearing yoga pants and a sweatshirt, her hair pulled back in a messy bun. She seemed overwhelmed by the lumber aisle. Can I help you find something? I asked. She jumped slightly, then laughed. Sorry. Yes. I'm trying to build a garden bed and I have absolutely no idea what I'm doing. I helped her pick out the right wood, the screws, the tools she'd need. She was easy to talk to, asked good questions, made jokes about her own incompetence that were self-deprecating but not desperate. You're a lifesaver, she said as I helped her load everything into her cart. My ex-husband always handled this stuff. I'm learning I probably should have paid more attention. You'll figure it out. YouTube's your friend. That's what my son keeps telling me. She smiled. I'm Rachel, by the way. David. Well, David, if this garden bed falls apart, I'm coming back to blame you. Fair enough. She wheeled her cart toward checkout, and I went back to work, not thinking much about the interaction until she appeared again 20 minutes later. Forgot to get soil, she said sheepishly. I'm really bad at this. I showed her where the gardening supplies were, and we talked about soil composition and drainage, and when she left the second time, she gave me a little wave. I didn't think about her again until the next week when she came back. The garden bed didn't fall apart, she announced. I'm here to buy you a coffee as a thank you. That's not necessary. Please. I insist. There's a coffee shop next door. Just 15 minutes. I hesitated. Looked at my watch. It was my lunch break anyway. Okay, I said. 15 minutes. The coffee shop was small, crowded with the lunch rush. We sat at a tiny table near the window, and Rachel told me about her divorce, about her 10-year-old son who was struggling with the transition, about moving to a new house and trying to make it feel like home. What about you? She asked. Are you married? Widowed. For years now. Her face softened. I'm so sorry. It's okay. I have 2 kids. They keep me busy. How old? 11 and 7. That must be hard. Doing it alone. I shrugged. You do what you have to do. She studied me for a moment. Can I tell you something? You seem tired. Not in a bad way. Just in a way that makes me think you don't let yourself rest very often. I don't have time to rest. Maybe that's the problem. We talked until my 15 minutes became 30, and then I had to get back to work. She walked with me to the hardware store entrance. Would you want to do this again sometime? She asked. Coffee, I mean. As friends. I don't really know anyone in the area yet. Sure, I said. As friends. She smiled, and I went back to work feeling slightly lighter than I had in a long time. Over the next few weeks, Rachel and I met for coffee twice more. She was easy company, understanding when I had to cut meetings short because of the kids, never pushing for more than I was ready to give. We talked about everything and nothing, and slowly I found myself looking forward to seeing her. But I didn't tell the kids. I didn't know how. What would I even say? That I'd made a friend? That maybe I was testing the waters of something more? It felt too complicated, too fragile to share. Then one Tuesday evening, Emma's school called. She was in the nurse's office with a fever. I left work immediately, picked her up, and brought her home. She was burning up, shivering despite the blanket I'd wrapped around her. I gave her medicine, put her to bed, sat with her while she dozed fitfully. Marcus made himself a sandwich for dinner without being asked. I heard him doing his homework in his room while I ran a cool washcloth over Emma's forehead. Around 8 o'clock, my phone buzzed. A text from Rachel, want to grab dinner Thursday? There's a new Italian place that's supposed to be amazing. I stared at the message while Emma mumbled something in her sleep. Italian food. Like the night with Vanessa, when I'd sat alone at a table while strangers pitied me. But Rachel wasn't Vanessa. Rachel knew about the kids. Rachel had sat across from me and talked about real things, hard things, without running away. I texted back, I'll have to check if I can get a sitter. Her response came quickly, or bring the kids. I'd love to meet them. My thumb hovered over the keyboard. This was a line I hadn't crossed. Introducing my children to someone I was, what? Dating? Were we dating? I didn't even know. Before I could respond, Emma stirred. Dad? I'm here, sweetheart. My throat hurts. I put the phone down and focused on her, got her more medicine, more water, stayed until she fell back asleep. When I finally checked my phone again, an hour had passed. I typed out a response. Let me think about it. But I didn't have to think long. The next morning, Emma was worse. The fever hadn't broken, and she was complaining about her ears hurting. I called in sick to work, took her to the pediatrician, sat in the waiting room while Marcus was at school and wondered how single parents without flexible jobs managed this. The doctor said it was an ear infection. Prescribed antibiotics. Told me to keep her home for a few days. I texted Rachel, "Can't do Thursday. Kid's sick." Her response, "Oh no. I hope she feels better soon. Rain check?" "Yeah. Thanks for understanding." But Thursday came and Marcus came home from school with a field trip permission slip for the following month. A trip to a science museum that required parent chaperones. "Are you going to come?" he asked, not quite looking at me. "Do you want me to?" "I don't care either way." Which meant yes. Which meant I needed to request another day off from Jerry, who was already covering for me while Emma was sick. I signed the form, and Marcus's face did this thing where he tried not to smile but couldn't quite help it. That night, after both kids were asleep, I sat at the kitchen table and looked at my bank account. The medical bills were piling up. The car still needed those brake pads. Emma needed new shoes. Marcus was outgrowing his clothes so fast I couldn't keep up. I had enough for rent and food and utilities. That was it. Nothing left over for emergencies, for savings, for anything beyond basic survival. My phone buzzed. "Rachel, I know you're dealing with a lot right now, but I wanted to say I'm here if you need anything. Even just to talk." I typed and deleted 3 different responses before finally settling on, "Thanks. That means a lot." Emma was better by the weekend, and I managed to pick up an extra shift at the store on Saturday. Rachel had texted a few more times, casual check-ins that I appreciated but didn't quite know how to reciprocate. The truth was, I liked her. But I didn't have space in my life for anything beyond liking her. Sunday evening, I was helping Marcus with a school project when Emma appeared in the doorway holding my phone. "Dad, someone named Rachel is calling you." My stomach dropped. "Did you answer it?" "No. But it's ringing." I took the phone, saw Rachel's name on the screen, and stepped into the hallway. "Hey," I said. "Hi. Sorry to call out of the blue. I was just thinking about you and thought I'd check in." Behind me, I could hear Emma asking Marcus who Rachel was. "Now's not a great time," I said quietly. "Oh. Okay. Is everything all right?" "Yeah, just family stuff. Can I call you back later?" "Of course. Talk soon." I hung up and turned to find both kids staring at me. "Who's Rachel?" Emma asked. "A friend." "A friend or a girlfriend?" Marcus's tone was carefully neutral. "Just a friend." Emma crossed her arms. "Do we know her?" "No." "Why not?" I sat down on the floor in the hallway, suddenly exhausted. "Because it's complicated." Emma sat down next to me, tucked herself against my side. "Is she nice?" "Very nice." "Then why can't we meet her?" I looked at Marcus, who was still standing in the doorway, watching me with an expression that was too old for his face. "Because I don't want you two to get attached to someone who might not stick around," I said honestly. "Like Mom didn't stick around?" Emma's voice was small. "That's different, baby. Mom didn't choose to leave." "But other people do," Marcus said. "Choose to leave, I mean." The weight of that statement hung in the air. He wasn't just talking about hypothetical people. He was talking about Vanessa, about the mother of one of his friends who'd stopped inviting him over after Rebecca died, about all the small abandonments he'd witnessed in his short life. "Yeah," I said. "Sometimes they do. So you're protecting us?" It wasn't a question. "I'm trying to." Emma leaned her head on my shoulder. "But what if she doesn't leave? What if she's one of the good ones? Then I guess we'll find out eventually." But I didn't call Rachel back that night. Or the next day. I told myself I was busy, that I'd get to it when things calmed down. But the truth was, I was scared. Scared of what it would mean to let someone in. Scared of getting hurt. Scared of my kids getting hurt. A week passed. Rachel stopped texting. I told myself it was for the best. Then, 2 weeks later, I was at the grocery store with Emma when I ran into her. Literally ran into her, my cart bumping against hers in the cereal aisle. David, she said, surprised. Rachel. Hi. We stood there awkwardly while Emma studied her with the unblinking intensity only 7-year-olds could manage. You must be Emma, Rachel said, smiling. Your dad's told me about you. He told us about you too, Emma said. He said you're nice. Rachel's eyes flicked to me. Did he? Emma, I said. Why don't you go grab the bread we need? She skipped off, and Rachel and I were left alone among the cereal boxes. I'm sorry I've been MIA, I said. It's okay. I figured you needed space. It's not that. I don't know how to do this. Dating with kids. I don't know the rules. There are no rules, David. We just figure it out as we go. What if I mess it up? Then we'll deal with it. Together. Emma came running back with the bread, slightly out of breath. Dad, can we get the one with the seeds? It's healthier. Sure, Em. She beamed, then looked at Rachel. Do you have kids? I have a son. He's 10. Do you think he'd want to play with me sometime? I started to redirect her, but Rachel spoke first. I think he'd love that. Maybe we could all get together. If your dad's okay with it. Emma looked at me with so much hope in her eyes that I couldn't say no. Yeah, I said. That would be nice. We exchanged numbers, made vague plans for the weekend, and then Rachel had to go. After she left, Emma tugged on my sleeve. I like her, Dad. You just met her. I can tell she's nice. Can't you? Yeah, I admitted. I can. That Saturday, we met at a park. Rachel brought her son, Jake, who immediately hit it off with Marcus over a shared love of basketball. Emma charmed everyone by insisting on pushing Jake on the swings despite being half his size. Rachel and I sat on a bench, watching them play. They're good kids, she said. They are. You've done an amazing job with them. I'm just doing my best. That's all any of us can do. We sat in comfortable silence for a while, and I let myself imagine what it might be like to have this regularly. Someone to share the weight with. Someone who understood. Can I ask you something? Rachel said. Sure. What are you afraid of? Really? I watched Emma chase Jake around the playground, her laughter carrying on the wind. I'm afraid of failing them, I said. I'm afraid that no matter how hard I try, I won't be enough. That they'll grow up and realize all the things I couldn't give them, all the ways I fell short. David, look at them. Do they look like kids who feel like they're missing something? I looked. Saw Marcus teaching Jake how to shoot a basket. Saw Emma's bright smile. Saw two children who, despite everything, seemed happy. They miss their mom, I said. Of course they do. But that doesn't mean you're failing them. It means they loved her. Love her. That's because of you too. Because you keep her memory alive. Something in my chest loosened, just a little. I'm also afraid, I continued, of letting someone in and having them decide we're too much work. Too much baggage. That it's easier to leave than to stay. Rachel reached over and took my hand. I'm not going anywhere, she said. Not unless you ask me to. Over the next few weeks, we fell into a rhythm. Dinner at each other's houses. Trips to the park. Movie nights where all 5 of us squeezed onto one couch. It wasn't perfect. Jake and Marcus fought sometimes. Emma got jealous when I paid attention to Rachel. There were logistics to navigate, schedules to coordinate, moments when I wondered if we were moving too fast. But there were also mornings when Rachel brought coffee to my house before work. Nights when she helped Emma with homework while I cooked dinner. Weekends when we felt almost like a real family. Then Claire called with an invitation to her annual holiday party. "Bring Rachel," she said. "I want to meet her." "I don't know. David, you've been seeing her for 2 months. It's time for her to meet the family." She had a point. Rachel had already met the kids, had already seen me at my worst, tired and overwhelmed and barely holding it together. Meeting my sister should be easy. But when I mentioned it to Rachel, she got quiet. "What is it?" I asked. "Nothing. I'd love to meet your sister." "You're a terrible liar." She smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. "It's just, meeting the family feels serious. Official. Is that bad?" "No. It's just scary. What if they don't like me?" "They'll love you." "You don't know that." "I do. Because I love you." The words came out before I could stop them, and we both froze. I hadn't planned to say it. Hadn't even fully admitted it to myself. But there it was, hanging in the air between us. "You love me?" Rachel's voice was barely a whisper. "Yeah," I said. "I do." She kissed me then, soft and sweet and full of promise. "I love you too," she said against my lips. The party was at Claire's house, packed with family and friends I hadn't seen in months. Rachel wore a green dress that made her eyes stand out, and I wore the same suit I'd worn to career day, hoping it still looked decent. The kids were with Mrs. Chen for the evening. It was just the two of us, walking into a room full of people who would judge and evaluate and decide whether Rachel was good enough for me, whether I'd made the right choice. Claire greeted us at the door, pulled me into a hug, then turned to Rachel. "So you're the woman who's made my brother smile again." Rachel shook her hand. "I'm trying." "Well, you're already doing better than the last one." I shot Claire a look, but she just grinned and ushered us inside. The party was fine at first. Rachel charmed my aunts, made polite conversation with my cousins, laughed at my uncle's terrible jokes. But I could see the strain in her smile, the way she kept glancing at me like she needed reassurance. We were getting drinks from the kitchen when I overheard my cousin Jennifer talking to someone in the next room. "I just think it's fast," Jennifer was saying. "Rebecca's only been gone 4 years. People move on at their own pace," another voice replied. "But with kids involved? He should be more careful. What if this doesn't work out? Those kids have already been through enough." I felt Rachel stiffen beside me. "They don't know what they're talking about," I said quietly. "Don't they? Maybe they're right. Maybe we are moving too fast." "Rachel. I should go." "Please don't." But she was already setting down her drink, already heading for the door. I followed her outside into the cold December air. "Talk to me," I said. She turned, and I was shocked to see tears in her eyes. "What if I can't do this, David? What if I can't be what your kids need? What if I'm not her? I don't want you to be her. I want you to be you. But what if that's not enough?" I took her hands. "Rachel, you are enough. You're more than enough. And I know it's scary and I know it's complicated, but I need you to trust that we can figure this out. What if your family doesn't accept me? Then that's their problem, not ours." She searched my face for a long moment, then nodded. "Okay," she said. "Okay." We went back inside, and I made a point of introducing Rachel to everyone, of keeping my hand on her back, of making it clear that she was important to me. And slowly, she relaxed. Started to enjoy herself. By the end of the night, she was laughing with Claire, swapping stories with my mother, fitting into my family like she'd always been there. On the drive home, she leaned her head on my shoulder. "Thank you," she said. For what? For fighting for this. For us. Always. The holidays came and went. Emma made Rachel a card. Marcus let her join their pickup basketball games. Jake started calling me Mr. David in this formal way that made me smile. We were building something, slowly and carefully, and for the first time in 4 years, I let myself believe it might actually work. Then, in late January, Claire called about another event. "There's a charity dinner next month," she said. "For the Children's Hospital. I got a table and I want you to come." "I don't know, Claire. Those things are expensive." "It's already paid for. Just show up. Bring Rachel. It'll be good for you to get out." I agreed, mostly because it was easier than arguing. The dinner was on a Saturday night at a hotel downtown. I borrowed a better suit from a friend at work. Rachel bought a new dress. We got Mrs. Chen to watch all 3 kids and drove to the hotel feeling like we were playing dress-up. The ballroom was elegant, filled with people in expensive clothes eating expensive food and writing expensive checks for charity. I felt out of place immediately, but Rachel took my arm and smiled. "We belong here just as much as anyone else," she said. We found our table. Claire was already there with her husband, along with several people I didn't know. The dinner started, speeches were made, and I was just starting to relax when I saw her. Vanessa. She was across the room at another table, wearing a black dress and laughing at something the man next to her was saying. For a moment, our eyes met, and I saw recognition flash across her face. Then she looked away, like I was nobody. Like that night in the restaurant had never happened. "You okay?" Rachel whispered. "Yeah. Fine." But I wasn't fine. Because sitting there, watching Vanessa act like I didn't exist, brought back every insecurity I'd been trying to bury. The feeling that I wasn't good enough. That I was just a single dad working retail, barely making ends meet, pretending to belong in a world that would never really accept me. The speeches ended and people started mingling. I was trying to convince Rachel we should leave when someone approached our table. A man in a military dress uniform, probably in his 60s, with salt and pepper hair and the kind of posture that suggested a lifetime of discipline. He stopped directly in front of me. "David Morrison," he said. I stood. "Yes?" He extended his hand. "Colonel James Peterson. Retired. I believe you know my daughter." My mind raced, trying to place him. Then I saw Vanessa behind him, her face pale. "Dad," she said quietly. "Let's just go." In a moment. He kept his eyes on me. "I wanted to apologize, Mr. Morrison." "Sir, you don't need to." "I do. My daughter told me what happened at your dinner. How she behaved. It was inexcusable." Vanessa looked like she wanted to disappear. People at nearby tables were starting to stare. "It's in the past," I said. "Perhaps. But I raised her better than that. I taught her to respect people, to see beyond surface appearances, to understand that a person's worth isn't measured by their job or their bank account." He paused. "When she told me about you, about how you're raising 2 children on your own after losing your wife, I was ashamed of her. And I told her so." The room had gone quiet. Everyone was watching now. "Mr. Morrison," the colonel continued, "I spent 30 years in the military. I've served with some of the finest men and women this country has to offer. And I can tell you that the hardest deployment, the toughest mission, doesn't compare to what you do every day. Raising children alone. Being both mother and father. Sacrificing your own needs for theirs. That takes a kind of courage most people never have to find." He stepped back and saluted me. A full military salute, crisp and formal and completely unexpected. I stood there, frozen, not knowing how to respond. Around us, people began to applaud. Slow at first, then building. Rachel was crying. Claire was crying. Even Vanessa looked shaken. The colonel dropped his salute. "Thank you for your service, Mr. Morrison. Not to the country, but to your family. That matters more than anything else." He shook my hand one more time, then turned to leave. Vanessa followed him, but not before glancing back at me one last time. I couldn't read the expression on her face. Regret, maybe. Or just embarrassment. I sat down slowly, my legs suddenly weak. Rachel grabbed my hand. "Did that really just happen?" I asked. She laughed through her tears. "Yes." People kept coming up to our table for the rest of the night. Shaking my hand, sharing their own stories of loss or single parenthood or struggle. By the time we left, my face hurt from smiling, and my heart felt fuller than it had in years. On the drive home, Rachel was quiet. "What are you thinking?" I asked. That he was right. About all of it. Rachel. No, let me finish. I've watched you with your kids. I've seen how hard you work, how much you sacrifice. And I've never once heard you complain. Never once heard you act like you deserve a medal for doing what you're doing. You just do it. Because they need you to. That's just being a parent. No, David. That's being exceptional. And I feel so lucky that you let me be part of it. I pulled over to the side of the road, put the car in park, and kissed her. Long and deep and full of everything I couldn't put into words. When we got home, Mrs. Chen was asleep on the couch. The kids were in bed. I paid her and sent her home, then went to check on Marcus and Emma. Marcus was awake, reading by the light of his phone. "Hey," I whispered. "You're supposed to be asleep. How was the dinner?" "It was good." "Did anything happen?" I sat on the edge of his bed. "Something kind of amazing, actually." I told him about the colonel, about the salute, about everything. When I finished, Marcus was quiet for a long moment. "Mom would be proud of you," he said finally. My throat tightened. "You think?" "I know. She always said you were the best man she'd ever met." I get it now. Why she said that. I hugged him, this boy who was growing up too fast, who'd had to be strong when he should have been allowed to just be a kid. "I love you, Marcus." "Love you too, Dad." Emma was fast asleep, her stuffed rabbit clutched to her chest. I smoothed her hair back, kissed her forehead, and stood there for a moment just watching her breathe. These two. Everything I did, every sacrifice I made, every hard day I pushed through, it was all for them. And maybe the colonel was right. Maybe that did take courage. But it didn't feel like courage. It just felt like love. Rachel was waiting for me downstairs. "They okay?" she asked. "They're perfect. Like their dad." I pulled her close, rested my chin on top of her head. "I was thinking," she said. "Maybe it's time we started talking about the future. About what this is, what we want it to be." "What do you want it to be?" "I want us to be a family. Not right away. We take our time, do it right. But eventually. I want that. Do you?" I thought about Marcus teaching Jake to play basketball. About Emma making Rachel cards. About Saturday mornings when we all piled onto the couch together. About having someone to share the weight with, someone to laugh with, someone to build a life with. "Yeah," I said. "I want that too." She smiled, and I kissed her again, and for the first time in 4 years, I let myself believe that maybe, just maybe, we were going to be okay. The road ahead wouldn't be easy. There would be more hard days, more struggles, more moments when I felt like I was failing. But I wouldn't be walking it alone anymore. I had Rachel. I had my kids. I had people who saw me, really saw me, and thought I was worth staying for. That night, after Rachel went home, I went out to the garage and found the box of Rebecca's things I'd never been able to sort through. Photos, letters, small mementos of our life together. I sat on the concrete floor and went through them one by one, letting myself remember. Letting myself grieve. Letting myself say goodbye to the life we'd had so I could fully embrace the life I was building. There was a photo of us at the hospital the day Marcus was born. We looked so young, so terrified, so completely in love. Rebecca was holding him, and I was holding her, and we had no idea how hard it would get or how soon I'd lose her or how I'd have to figure out how to be enough for 2 kids on my own. But I had figured it out. Imperfectly, messily, but I'd done it. I hope I'm making you proud, I whispered to the photo. And somewhere, in the quiet of that garage, I felt her answer. Felt her telling me that I was doing fine, that the kids were okay, that it was time to stop punishing myself and start living again. I put the box away, went inside, and climbed into bed. Tomorrow would bring new challenges. Marcus had a project due. Emma needed new shoes. The brake pad still needed replacing. But tonight, I let myself rest. Let myself feel the peace of knowing I was exactly where I needed to be. The journey of single fatherhood had taught me a lot. It had taught me strength I didn't know I had. It had taught me patience. It had taught me that love, real love, isn't about grand gestures or perfect moments. It's about showing up every day, even when you're tired, even when you don't know what you're doing, even when the world tells you you're not enough. And maybe I wasn't enough. Maybe I'd never be everything my kids needed. But I was there. And I was trying. And in the end, maybe that was the only thing that really mattered. The last thing I did before turning off the light was check my phone. There was a text from Marcus, "Thanks for being my dad." And one from Emma, sent from Rachel's phone earlier, "I drew you a picture at school today. It's us, all of us, even Rachel and Jake. We're a big family now." I smiled, set the phone aside, and closed my eyes. Yeah, I thought. We're a family now. And that was enough. That was everything.